Well, welcome. Hi, I'm Dave Henning with the Fresh Start Podcast, fresh ideas for business and personal growth. And I think we're live, and I'm glad to have my guest here, Michael DeLon from Little Rock, Arkansas. Welcome, Michael. How are you? Oh, you're muted. Oh,
I'm
why are you?
muted. There you go.
There you go.
It always helps when I'm muted. Yeah, no, I'm doing great today. Thank you, Dave. So good to be with you.
Well, you've got a very interesting story and background, and let's see if I pulled up the right little thing
Hmm.
here. We could talk further, I'm sure. Here we
I can
go.
talk all day about this.
Yeah, so are doing something very cool, which is right up my alley, and that is you are the founder of Create Your Book Without Writing a Word. That
Yep.
that's pretty. I mean, that's there it is, without writing a word.
Yeah, there
that's
you go. So, yeah,
that's
I founded my company back in 2013, Dave, Paperback Expert, and it's all around helping experts and thought leaders create a book without writing a word.
what? How is that possible? Come on, tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, well, it all started when I escaped from prison. Okay.
What?
And this is back in 2013. It wasn't a literal prison, Dave. It was an
Okay.
emotional prison because I was stuck in a job that I hated at a
Oh,
ministry that I loved. So my wife and I have been married 32 years. First
awesome.
5 years were like this because we're complete opposites. We
Oh my
both grew
goodness.
up in church. Nobody taught us how to be married. So we finally went to a marriage conference by an organization called Family Life, part of Campus Crusade for Christ. In
Yes.
that weekend conference, we learned God's blueprints for marriage. I didn't know he had blueprints. So we learned it. Our marriage grew. We started supporting and getting involved with family life. Fast forward to 2000. That whole time I was working in Christian radio and marketing and sales, helping business owners grow. That's where I cut my teeth in marketing. God called us out of radio down to family life to serve as missionaries to the family in America to help other marriages. And I thought I was in nirvana. It was better than being in Costa Rica. It was great. And I climbed the corporate ladder. I served on the leadership team. And after about 6 years, the ministry went through some corporate reorganizations. And
Oh,
after the third reorg, they rolled out the new chart, and my name was no longer on the leadership team. And so they started shuffling me around the ministry to do different things. And that was the beginning of my 2-year prison term. And after 2 years, I talked to my wife. I prayed to God. I said, I got to get out of this place. It was killing me. And God said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go help small business owners with marketing because they hate it. They struggle with it. And I love it. And he said, go. So on January 1st of 2013, I escaped prison, left the ministry, started my own marketing consulting firm. I had one client. I'd help him break through some barriers, grow his business. He'd refer me to you, Dave, and we'd have a great conversation about your business. And somewhere in that conversation, you'd say, now, Michael, what have you done in the last few years? What experience do you have? I said, well, I've helped build marriages and families at Family Life. And you'd say, oh, that's super honorable. Way to go, Michael. Oh, look at the time. I've got another meeting coming up. Let's keep our conversation going. And you'd usher me out the door. And that kept happening to me, Dave. And I thought, okay, I got to fix this because I was living on savings. I wasn't gaining clients. So I went back to my church, second floor, pacing the hallways, praying to God, saying, God, how do I help Dave? Because I know I can. And God spoke to my heart and he gave me the idea. He says, why don't you take all of your marketing strategies and put them in a book? So I did. January 2013, I wrote my book on marketing. Then, Dave, I'd call you. I'd set an appointment. I'd mail a copy of my book to you. And a week later, I'd walk into your office. And there it was. My book was on your desk, dog-eared, highlighted, and underlined. You'd read my book. And in that meeting, Dave, you'd say, now, Michael, in your book, you said, how do you help me do that? And you'd hire me. And the next person hired me, and the next. So I started gaining clients. Now, what changed, Dave, between those two meetings? Did my background and understanding of marketing change at all? No. Did my experience being in ministry change? The only thing that changed, Dave, was how you thought of me. When you got a copy of my book, I instantly became an expert in your mind. And when I walked into your office, you had pen in hand, ready to take down the prescription that I was going to give you for your problem. That changed everything for me. So I started asking a question. Well, why don't business owners create books? Well, as you know, Dave, because you've written a book, it's hard. There's a lot to it. Most people aren't writers like you are. We're communicators. We're speakers. We like to talk to people. So we created a process where our writers will have conversations with you to extract from you, Dave, all of the information that's in your head. We'll put it into a book form. We'll craft it. We'll write it in your words, your voice, your tone, your language, and then we'll publish it so that you are perceived as an expert just like I was. That's how we help people create a book without writing a word. That makes sense?
It sure does, because I've owned a couple of franchises, and between the various recessions that I've lived through and survived, I totally get it. Because a small business owner, let's say like an HVAC company, they're being busy running their business, or their businesses running them.
Yep.
And to be perceived as an expert, which they actually are in their field. It just makes total sense that I've owned cleaning companies and insurance companies and a mortgage broker, and when everything went sideways in, let's see, 2008, 1988, 1982. So I totally get that. And I love the fact that you can walk somebody through what you say, the prescription of extracting that information from them. By the way, I don't know if you can see this or not on the camera or not, but no, you can't really see this. No. It's actually some guy that wrote, "Have you heard of the 4 spiritual laws?" Dr. Bill Bright.
Yeah.
That's still, believe it or not, that's still effective.
That is still effective, because those are phenomenal principles. I had to memorize that when we went on staff with Campus Crusade. So
yeah. I was a teenager at a shopping mall in Ithaca, New York, when our little youth pastor guy at a church camp says, "Hey, we're going to go to a shopping mall and sit down with people and talk to them." Scared to death. But again, a written thing in a little booklet. And speaking of little booklets, how many pages does somebody's expert book need to be?
Yeah, our book's published between 125 to 150 pages. So what we tell people is, you don't want to write a brochure. Right. And you don't want to write War and Peace.
Yeah, that would be,
Right? So you want to write a book that when you hand it to somebody, it feels like a book, it looks like a book, and then when they look through it, they go, I could read this in a couple of hours.
Right.
That's what you're looking for. And it's really simple, because business owners are experts at what they do. Okay? Right. So you have enough content in your head, in your heart, to create a book. The problem is there's so much competition. Business owners look like unrecognized commodities, overlooked commodities. You go to the grocery store, you're in the pea aisle. There's a can of peas on the bottom that you never see. What we do is we take you from the bottom shelf, overlooked commodity. We rebrand you, reposition you to the top shelf, recognized expert. And what it does, Dave, is it reverses the polarity of your marketing. Right. Because instead of you chasing after people, they actually start being drawn to you, because you now have a clear message, a distinction from everybody else, and a reason to make them want to listen to you.
And speaking of the pea aisle, and you could take that a couple of different ways, but as you know, in competition, people are always like competing on price. Rather than value. And to come out as well, do you want value or do you want price?
That's right.
I was doing a lot of bidding in the companies that I had to bid on contracts, and that always became a factor. Somebody would bid so low that they couldn't complete the job, but they got the contract and bumped me out. So that hurts my feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And we teach our clients through the marketing programs that we run with our clients, and teaching them credibility marketing strategies. We teach them strategies to gain what we call price elasticity. Ooh. And we really push people away who are trying to negotiate prices. If I'm talking with a prospect, Dave, and they're trying to negotiate my price down, we kind of just stop the conversation and have that conversation you just talked about. That's not the client I want.
Right. Exactly.
And experts, I mean, if you go to a John Maxwell or a Tony Robbins or a Seth Godin or a Simon Sinek, do you think you're going to negotiate their speaking price down? I don't think so, because they're in demand. That's where you need to position yourself, and you
Yeah.
do that through credibility and expertise by being different from everybody else.
Right. And so, having said that, I know how I self-published my book. So, what publishers do you use, or how does the publishing end of that work?
Yeah, we take care of everything. We are the publisher of your book. And the reason for that is when you hand your book to somebody, they're going to look at the front cover. They're going to turn it over, look at the back cover, read it, and they're going to see a publishing indicia right there. And that's going to speak credibility because they're going to say, oh, he has a publisher. That builds credibility. Self-published books don't have that. So we put it on there. We take care of everything, Dave. The only thing we don't do is the content for your book, but we interview you through conversations to get that. You're the expert. Our job is to position you as the expert in the eyes of your audience, and then teach you through our coaching program what to do with your book, how to use it in your marketing to gain clients, to get referrals, and to grow your revenue year after year after year. You know, a book, Dave, has shelf life. I published my book in 2013. I still use it today to gain clients and get referrals, right? And when you put a physical copy of a book in somebody's hand, did you know it's sacrilegious for them to throw it away? We move it house to house, to country, right? And we don't give it away. The only time I want somebody to give my book away is when they're handing it to one of their friends as a referral to go, hey, Dave's the guy I trusted to write this or to do this or to set my retirement up or whatever it is. You should read his book. That is how you get great referrals.
And I know what I did in terms of that back cover you were just showing us about. I had some really credible people who gave me some testimonials to put on the book. Do you do that as well?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so you're the publisher, and you have a coaching program. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So for the first few years of what I did, I would create your book without writing a word. I'd publish you to Amazon and Kindle. And you'd get your book and you'd be all excited, and you'd come back to me in a few weeks and you'd say, Michael, my book looks great on Amazon. What do I do with it? Because you're not going to get rich selling your book on Amazon.
No.
Okay. You're going to get rich and gain wealth by gaining new clients and doing what you do. And so I started giving marketing counsel, and I thought, all right, I need to make a more structured approach. So when we get a new client, Dave, we have 2 tracks that they run on simultaneously, kind of like a train track. One track is your book creation track, okay? The other track is the marketing coaching track. And every month, you're meeting with me and my son, Caleb, with a group of other entrepreneurs, and we're teaching you our credibility marketing systems that you start implementing in your business to gain clients during the process of as you're creating your book, because the book creation process takes about 6 to 7 months from start to finish. Okay. It's not an overnight thing. This is not a get your book done in a weekend process.
Right.
It takes some time. But during that process, we're going to help you create marketing systems in your business that are going to run year after year after year to bring you clients, to convert prospects into clients and clone your clients, because every client you have knows about 20 to 40 people just like them pretty intimately. How do you reach that audience? Yeah. There's a way to do it through your book. And that's what we teach in our coaching program, so that we equip our clients to be good marketers long-term, positioned as an expert.
Yeah, having said that, you made me think. Got the little gray matter going here in my head, as Hercule Poirot likes to say. I've been involved in a number of different BNI groups, Business Networking International, and the one I was with in up in California in the Silicon Valley and near Stanford, about 40 of us, but a handful of them were the trades, so they're moving referrals to each other quite effectively, from builders, from real estate, from landscapers, and all these kind of people. And yeah, they're super busy, number one, but number two, to have it systematized so that it's not like, oh, I got one more thing I got to do. but to get that coaching and mentorship and to understand the process so that it's sort of, as you say, it's not like putting yourself in prison.
Yeah, well, it's not. And most business owners struggle with marketing, Dave, not because they're ignorant or dumb. They're not. They're
Yeah.
super smart. They have not been schooled in it. They've not been taught.
Right.
They've not really and they're chasing all of the shiny objects, the next new whatever, right? Somebody told me when Clubhouse came out, everybody's on Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, you're going out of business. I'm not on Clubhouse. Hasn't affected me a bit.
Yeah.
But business owners don't have a perspective or an understanding of marketing and how marketing really works, because marketing works in the mind of your audience, not out in the channels that you use. All of the channels work. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, they all work when they're used properly.
Right.
Okay? But stop chasing all the next things and stop throwing it on the wall to see what sticks. Because the other thing most business owners don't have is a clear, compelling message. And your message is the most important thing you have. Yeah. That's why we have create your book without writing a word. That phrase, Dave, stops people in the tracks, and it causes them to go, tell me more about that.
Right.
So it gives me an opportunity to have a conversation. Okay. Most business owners are like, well, I'm a financial planner. I have these designations. I've been doing this for 35 years. And I say, who cares? Because everybody else does that. All the websites look the same. What are you doing to differentiate yourself from everybody else? Yeah. And it starts usually with your story. You have a story, Dave, of why you're doing what you're doing. Are you telling that story? And most of the clients we have aren't telling their story when they come to us. And we help them tell their story through the pages of their book. But then we coach them on how to tell that story everywhere else, so it's compelling to their ideal audience.
And I found, I'm sure that you have as well, that it is about the story, and it is about relationships. You know, I've been to these sales meetings with 100 ways to twist somebody's arm to close the sale. Say this, do this. They make these little signals and movements and cross your fingers a certain way, and nonsense. It's total nonsense. It's all about building relationships and sharing your story. Stories are powerful.
They are. That's what people remember. That's why our books are filled with stories of how you've helped other clients achieve the result they're after, because that's what your prospects are looking for. They're going to remember the stories much more than the tactics or the programs you have, right? And at the end of the day, they're going to buy you and who you are more than what you offer. They can buy that anywhere. Okay. But we were talking before this is John Maxwell. Why do so many people follow John Maxwell? Is he that much smarter than every other leadership guru out there? Does he have some magic formula? No. Read his books. They all say the same thing, and he'll tell you that. We follow John because it's John.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Same thing happens in business.
People work with people they know, like, and trust, and a lot of people know and even like, but you know, it's this trust factor that takes time to build trust.
It really does. And it becomes, you have to be transparent, right? I was on a call yesterday with a prospect, Dave, and I tell my prospects up front in my calls, I say, here's the at the end of this call, Dave, I'm going to ask you a closing question. Okay. Here it is. Dave, what would you like to do? Because by that time we've talked, we both know whether or not this is a good fit for you and this is a good decision for you. What would you like to do, Dave? And I leave it to them. I'm not going to twist your arm, because if I get a new client who's resistant and who got they're not going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy, and it's not worth it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's transparency and integrity and authenticity.
So what's the process for connecting with you, for example, and to get, you have let's see, I might have it here. You have a website. Let's talk about this for a second. paperbackexpert.com/calculator. What's that about?
Okay. So if you just go to my website, paperbackexpert.com, you'll find everything, including the calculator. So we talk a lot about credibility marketing and credibility, building your credibility. But what is credibility? How do you define it? How does your audience think about credibility? Nobody could tell me. So we figured it out. We created this online calculator where in under 5 minutes, by answering 20 questions, we're going to deliver to you your credibility score, a 0 to 100 score. And then following that, you'll get 5 videos from us, one a day, that will help you understand how you can increase your credibility in the eyes of your audience. So it's a credibility calculator. It's at our website, paperbackexpert.com. You can't miss it. And it's just going to help you understand what level of credibility do you have today and what can you do to increase the level of credibility you have in the eyes of your audience.
I'm laughing inside because when I used to teach at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, one of the subjects was sales. And so I was pretty blunt about that. I said, look, it's up to you if you want to be a smoker or not, but you can't go into a sales call, smelling like a furnace or a campfire or something. And by the way, try using TikToks or try using breath mints.
Yeah.
I was just kind of blunt with people. Look, you want to increase your sales. You got to look at what you're wearing. Look at how you only have one chance to make a first impression.
That's right.
So that's why I wore my Baylor shirt today.
I love it.
Impress you that I got free shirts for my grandkids.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about that first impression. So you're a business owner. You're going after some prospects. What are you doing? How about making this first impression? How about taking your book, Dave, buying a little bubble wrap mailer on Amazon, and mailing a signed copy of your book to somebody you want to meet with? Do you think that's going to get past the secretary? I assure you it will. Will they open this? Guaranteed. And when they pull out your book and they see your book and there's a thank you note in it that you've written to them and you've signed the inside of the book, do you think that makes a great first impression? And now, do you have a reason to call and say, hey, I'm calling to talk with Dave Henning. I'm the guy that sent him that big gold envelope in the mail.
Yeah.
You think I'm getting through? That's how you start conversations. That's how you make a great first impression with a key influencer, a key prospect. It's not rocket science, Dave. These are the strategies we teach our clients in our coaching program that take their business to a whole new level.
You remind me of, I was privileged to see old Dan Kennedy, who was famous for, he could get paid $25,000 for writing one sales letter, but he was trying to get a hold of a top executive CEO of a big company, and the guy just ignored his call. So Dan got an oar like from a rowboat, and he wrapped it up with a letter and shipped it to this guy. And what in the world is this? The CEO opens it up, and the letter was, "You're up the creek without a paddle if you won't see me."
That's right. Absolutely. It's not rocket science, right?
Yeah.
Business owners don't think this way because they're not marketers.
Right.
They're experts at what they do. We bring a marketing expertise to the table and we say, what are you trying to make happen? Have you thought about this?
Yeah.
And we build systems into their business so that they put it in one time and it replicates time after time. Because if it works with one guy, I assure you it'll work with others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a question on the tip of my tongue, but I can't find it right now. But I'm sure that it has to do with, oh my goodness. Oh, investing in yourself. One of the things that I've learned for years is I've invested literally thousands of dollars in who I am today, which some people say, boy, you're a real jerk.
Yeah.
So, but all that to say, let's talk about the idea of why is it worth it to invest in yourself? We've only got a couple minutes left, and I wanted to make sure that we touched on this, that it's free. It doesn't cost anybody a penny to talk with you. Is that right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, we have credibility conversations. You can find the link on our website, paperbackexpert.com. You have to invest in yourself and your business. It's your greatest asset is your ability to generate revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. That is your greatest asset. And you have to learn from different people. Dave, I'm a marketing expert. And at the same time, I have 3 marketing coaches that built into my life and my business because I'm
Wow.
so close to my business that I can't figure it out. I
Yeah.
can look at your business and in an instant know exactly what you need to do. But I have coaches. I invest heavily into my mindset, into my understanding of sales and marketing and systems because you have to. That's how you grow a business. The problem is we chase all the 4-hour work week things without understanding the systems, the processes, the people that they have behind them that make it all work. So if you're not willing to make an investment into your business to grow your business, and Dave, we take some of the risk in with a client in that our programs have a 2-year double your money back guarantee in writing.
Wow.
Because I
Fantastic.
know it works.
Yeah.
And so make the investment, have the conversation. We talk to people all the time just to say,
Yeah.
is this a right next step for you?
I think with Michael DeLon, he is the founder of Paperback Expert, creating your book without writing a word. And I've got one last question for you that I ask everybody. I got a lot of trick questions I could ask you too, but well, let me ask you this. I think we got time real quick here. Let me ask you this: if you could sit down with anybody anywhere who's dead or living, that you could sit down and have a conversation, lunch or dinner, and just ask any questions that you want. Who would you like? One person who would you like to really sit down with and talk to?
That's a great question, Dave. I think the first name that really popped into my head was John Piper. He's was a pastor in Minnesota. He's a prolific writer. Yeah. His writings outside of the Bible, his book, When I Don't Desire God, has been probably the most transformational book in my life. And I just love hearing John talk about living, fighting sin, loving Christ. And I would just love to sit down for an evening with John and just talk.
Okay, well, let me give him a John. Hello, John. We'll set that up for you, man.
I appreciate that.
I'll tell him you called. No, that's awesome. That's a great answer. I love you mentioned that name, and it's like it gave me a chill to be reminded of the stuff that he's done and written to impact people's lives for good. Faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these things is love. Learning to love your neighbors, love your enemies, and pray for people. So. One last question I ask everybody because I think it's just a fun question to ask. What was your very first job ever when you were either a kid or a teenager?
Very first job was selling Christmas greeting cards door to door.
Oh my gosh! Right?
So I did that for years, and then I was a paper boy after that, or maybe I was the paper boy first. Then I did the greeting cards. They went kind of, but I mean, I was like 10. Yeah, I was young. But that's what I did, door to door, selling Christmas cards, selling and doing a newspaper route early on.
Very cool. I had my newspaper out, but I sold flower seeds door to door.
There you go. Same concept.
And you didn't get paid. You had this little catalog. You get a cheap camera or some magnets. Little boys like magnets.
Right. That's right. Yeah. But it taught us how to engage with people, how to speak eye to eye, and how to serve people.
Absolutely. Michael, it's been a pleasure to talk with you today, and we're going to wrap this up real quick here, but thank you so much. I'm Dave Henning with the Fresh Start Podcast, fresh ideas for business and personal growth. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for being here, and just hang on a second.